Welcome, dear listeners, to Coffee and Uche Okeke. I am Salma Uche Okeke, and my co-host is Tamsin Lavelle. We are honored to have Professor Salubi Onakufe with us today. Born in Sapele, Nigeria, he is a seasoned artist, known for his skills in sculpture, painting, and printmaking. He taught art for 35 years at the College of Education, Warri, before retiring in 2017. Currently, he is the president of the Visual Printmakers Association of Nigeria, actively involved in exhibitions and art education both in Nigeria and the United States. Welcome, Professor. How are you today?
Fine. What about you?
I'm very well, thank you. Welcome, Tamsin.
Thank you, Salma. It's lovely to be here today and to be chatting to you, Professor Onakufe. I'm also well. Professor, as an educator and an artist, you must have seen a lot happen in Nigeria. Could you perhaps share with us your perspective on the positive changes you've noticed in the last 60 years in Nigerian contemporary art?
Nigerian contemporary art has evolved over the years. In the first place, it has increased the enrollment of art students, both in colleges of education, universities, and polytechnics. Since independence, the art that was really started in the then College of Art, Science and Technology, which people like Prof. Uche Okeke attended, with their philosophical thinking about art in synthesis of using European ideas, synthesizing it with African ideas, has really influenced the academia. We embraced it. About 6 years ago, the University of Benin introduced PhD programs for studio artists. It was a welcome development by Professor Egonwa, and a lot of people have really gone into the program and producing a lot of PhD programs, PhD students in the fine and applied arts of painting, sculpture, graphics, ceramics. So in terms of having international standard, you see, Nigerians have evolved over the years. We have the polytechnic graduates. Most of them today, they are into full practice. Art is evolving. The government is putting a lot of money in the development of the visual arts. The polytechnics, the numbers have increased. Auchi Polytechnic, Yaba College of Tech, and so on. The polytechnics are offering art as in their curriculum, and the government is spending a lot. So what we are thinking now is that we need art in terms of the marketing to spread to all other areas of the country, because all the concentration is in Lagos. Thank God recently, Abuja is evolving. It's evolving. So we can't be producing art. The concept of production must follow suit with buying and marketing and creating awareness for art people to collect art in Nigerian context.
Yes, so thank you very much, sir. From all you have said, it is clear that there's been a lot of changes over that 60 years in the Nigerian contemporary art scene. And you have also talked about those kinds of changes you have observed in education also. During your journey as a teacher and a practitioner of art, what were your interactions with Uche Okeke like?
In the 80s, that's around 1988, we discussed a lot. It was then I was able to learn the concept of making a painting or drawing using spatial relationship, balancing the negative space with the positive space. The negative space gives you interesting relationship with the design with your subjects. And he told me then that was the concept of painting and drawing that was just the Americans are trying to popularize. So I looked at it, and it has influenced me, that is using it in trying to create a picture. However, my greatest influence by Professor Uche Okeke is the philosophical ideas of the Zaria School of Synthesis. And I respected him because he was the secretary of the Zaria Rebels, as termed, of the Zaria Art School students. They were rebelling against the traditional works, painting on canvas, and that the Africans who produce artworks that came from Africa who have great art, that they should synthesize, put those figures into our drawings. Those works have really influenced me. I came back and went back into Robo art. And apart from that, Uche Okeke was very prolific. He was one of the greatest writers. And his development of the great Ulingi movement. Then the Asele Art Institute. Reading them in the paper has a lot of influence in me. Uche Okeke is a man we should not play with because his theoretical frameworks has really shaping me and shaping the development of art in Nigeria.
That's amazing and so interesting. Prof. Onakufe, what happened in the Nsuka school while you were there? You were part of that.
No, I was not. I was not there, but I was part of it from the influence of my colleagues.
Is there any particular influence that you can highlight from the school?
The little drawings are so wonderful. They are so wonderful. There's one thing, when I was growing up as a student, I always believed that I wouldn't like to walk like a Bruce or walk like Uche Okeke. And thinking of how, knowing that fully well that when I went in America, that for you to be a great artist, you must have your own style of walking. But you can be influenced by theoretical method, but your work should not look like that of Okeke, should not look like that of Bruce. You can influence me in theory, but in practice, I will not.
You have said quite a bit about the Zaria rebels and the influences that they had. What do you think of them as a person?
Yeah, the Zaria rebels opened our eyes into our African art, that our African art is so powerful. And when I started reading the work of Pablo Picasso, read the work of Paul Gauguin, Georges Braques, they all drew influence from African art. From the first time when they saw African art, Paul Cézanne said that artists should draw in cubic shapes. And that is what the philosophy he got from African art. And that was what the Zaria rebels were preaching. African has powerful artworks. Why? They are not saying they should throw away the European curriculum, synthesis, bringing it together side by side, which Uche Okeke developed, Udiyoli. That's great influence of telling us that we have art that were developed comparable to the art of high Renaissance in 14th century Italy. If you look at Benin classical art, Ife classics, wonderful. Then Nok classics, they are very powerful. Zaria rebel becomes part of the curriculum. So before you graduate from an art school in Nigeria, you must read about the Zaria rebel. For some time, I was so intrigued with the Nok culture. I made some paintings on Nok culture. They came to Benin art, influencing and so on and so forth. So their influence is you cannot run from it.
I love those ideas of being innovative, but also looking back to your roots. And one of those roots, key ones, was Uli art. What significance does it hold for you, and how would you define it for our listeners?
You should look back to your root. In every society, we have our root, a way of living. And like me, I have a lot of series of work, the African motif as the jewel of African art. I have over 30 paintings on the prints and so on. That can be a theme that I can exhibit. The holy art is a philosophy that is behind you, which you sell to students. Philosophy. This man was able to go back to the root and get something which he developed, and he got international recognition. And that was the philosophy of the Zaria rebel. Synthesis. Go back to your root and see. And in the process of going back to your root, you must look at the contemporary materials that are produced by industries to synthesize and produce artworks. Because artwork is not static. Going back to the root is not just going to copy everything. It is where you put some variation that gives it creativity. And what is creativity? Looking at what people have done and how you can modify it to suit the contemporary trends, contemporary materials, contemporary visions, and how it can go into your social economics environment.
Exactly, Prof. Looking at what people have done and seeing what you can do with it and make it your own. How has the work done by Uche Okeke and Bruce Onababeya and their group of people influenced what you are doing?
I have a philosophy. I take your theory and develop myself. Bruce is my uncle. I've worked with him. People will say, your work does not look like that of Bruce. I say, no, I look at the method and use my own method to approach it. It's the theoretical background that influences me, not practice. And if you are influenced by theoretical background, then there's room for you to develop yourself. When I went to the United States, the first concept we were told, say, look, come on, you don't work like this man. You don't work like this man. You go to, it's only when you develop yourself based on those theories, then there's a theory that says that when you're in art school, you follow the principles of what you are taught, line, color, color, and form. A mature artist paints concept, become conceptual. And then mature artist and mature paints objects. You see the objects there. So if you look at our traditional art, they were very conceptual. African art is conceptual. The head going to the body 4 times. But conventional art classes will tell you the head goes into the body 6 times. So when you talk of African proportion and so on and so forth, yes, you know it. I'm known African, but anytime I want to draw anything, I talk African proportion, this and this. I'm a man that is loaded with theory because I read art education and then practice. I taught art and practice. When I see you copying, I will give you a C. But when I see an original work, I give you an A. So people like Uche Okeke, they're original. That's why people are rushing them. Because of their originality, they now say that you must read them in the curriculum. And I was so lucky, if you go to an NC, they see diversification using a lot of theoretical framework. So I'm very experimental in nature.
You're right about influence and evolution as well, because each artist has their own personal journey and how they get to their definitive practice looks very different. How would you describe the essence of your work for our listeners?
The essence of my work to the listeners over the years has evolved from the art school to my teaching influence, to my environment and my experimentations. My works in series and in years. And because I'm experimenting and because I'm evolving, within a short period, I'm tired with a particular way of doing things. And because I'm a painter, I'm a printmaker, I'm a sculptor, my works are interwoven. When you look at my works, you see some element of prints, some element of paintings, and a lot of experimentation with methods and materials coming from the industries. They are moving. You come today after about 6 months or 2-3 years, you see me doing on that thing, and that is based on experimentation. I'm a restless artist. I don't believe in being in a place and knowing me for one method of production. I don't believe it. Recently, I've developed a technique which I call pentography, and the whole world have been writing me. How is the method? It's very simple. And my present works are looking for simplicity. Look at Picasso in his later days. His works are very simple. Picasso will take a line and explore the line for a long time. Look, Matisse did too. Creative artist means diversification, looking at new materials, looking at events, and creating works that reflect your society. And creating imaginative works.
I get a vision of your dynamism. I wonder, for our listeners, it will be important to know what genres and mediums you have created in so far.
I use local materials and imported ones. Do you know I work with condemned oil from Moto? Take charcoal, grind charcoal to get my black. A lot of experimentation. Look at wood. I use palm oil to paint, to mix. I use Eco. I use it as my white with epoxy, with blue. It gives you white. So there's a lot of experimentations that look. As I move, as I go to my wife's kitchen and see things, I begin to use. I use my colors from my tea. When I'm drinking, I look at it. From coffee, cocoa, when I'm brown, it's wonderful. Experimentations endless. Using local materials and giving me effective.
I love that we can hear so much joy in your voice, Prof. Onakufe. You're infecting us with this joy, this youthfulness and sense of experimentation and fun.
You got me, youthfulness. When you say that if you can behave like a youth, that makes it the greatness. And that is my philosophy. You know, my art educationist. My theories help me in my practice. With 2 courses in philosophy, 2 courses in psychology, unlike a trained studio master. You go to they give you materials and methods, you begin to work. No, art education does not tell you that one. You explore the human nature, the child psychology. Sometimes I work like the child art. So that has been my strength and my local materials and that concept of improvisation and the concept of being original imaginative composition.
Trusting your own imagination.
Yes, you have seen the thing. Come back and imagine it. And that is what we call art.
What advice would be helpful for others wanting to build a great art practice?
In the first place, you build body of works. Ideas with contemporaries. Go attend workshops, attend seminars. Get ideas. And you must always think to be original. Don't copy. The day you copy, I don't look at you as an artist. You should be moving, evolving. You should be experimenting. An artist is not experimenting with materials available materials today is not an artist. It's not an artist. Get your hands involved in ceramics, your hand involved in painting. And that's the essence of the matter workshop we're saying. I used to tell them, I say, look, if you want to be an artist, take a course in printmaking. Printmaking is like poultry in agriculture. You make your money every day. Printmaker is never broke because you do things in multiples. So people come collect more of my prints to survive as an artist. So I will advise every artist to take a course. We are today the most prolific and richest Nigerian artist. It's because of his prints. And then before you are known as an artist, it evolves in every profession. It takes time. It takes time. Be consistent. Punctuality is the soul of business. Be at your studio at your right time. Send works to galleries to sell. Stop drinking. Stop living a life your hand will not reach. Buy art materials and start producing artworks. You must have a role model. Study how he became great. Study his lifestyle. Be original, copy his lifestyle because he attained that status because of his lifestyle.
So what does legacy mean to you, sir? And what do you want your legacy to be?
Legacy, by its definitions, you can create a legacy. Your lifestyle, people see you, like you. That is a legacy while on earth. Then when you have no more on earth, those things you were doing that people like becomes part of your legacy, which your family will inherit. And legacy simply means that if you are not known before you passed away, you don't have a legacy. And the most precious one is the legacy after death, because you won't see the person again. The person has gone. So I look at legacy at two. Legacy while you're on earth, you can influence a lot of people, which Uche Okeke did. He has a legacy while he was alive, which I look at that as a role model. Uche Okeke was a role model among young artists. Uche Okeke produced great men, and I'm one of them with his theoretical writings. And Salma, when I see your pictures with your daddy, I told you look alike. So you are already a legacy of Uche Okeke. I will meant to leave a legacy of my gallery, my museum, the students I've taught. When I had my birthday, my students sent me money from America, from all over the place. So these are legacy. And like I said, to the life legacy and legacy after life. My studio should be kept well to be a visiting place where the master worked. Sometimes my son will come to me, Daddy, let's clear this place. I say, please leave them. My legacy. They want to see the brush, the way they are kept. My books, I've written a lot of books as a lecturer. My research papers, my children are legacy. I make sure they are all involved in the art. My wife is my legacy. I told her, if you want to marry me, you must read art. And she read that. She's an art educationist. Third son, he studied graphic art from University of Benin. He has a studio. I was there yesterday to visit them. I saw people working under him. Those are an extension of my legacy. So the legacy continues. You have living legacy and legacy after death, which I said. I have a museum, my works, and my gallery. And they should be selling my works print. So the legacy, both living and when I'm not on earth.
It looks to me like what you really want to leave behind is your great experiments and the methods of which you have arrived at some of those works that you have created. I think you have talked about having students come for research into your style. I think your legacy really has to do with how you have practicalized some of the theories you've come up with. I remember also that you have talked about a museum. Now, right now you have an art center, but you're working towards a museum that will have only your collection of works. So what you're leaving behind is a body of works and the theoretical background to those body of works and the teachings on the experimentation that has resulted in those works.
You got it. I'm happy you are from a great philosophical. So you have just summarized me. I thank you very much.
It's quite interesting, sir.
It's very, very interesting, isn't it, Salma? It's been so fascinating and inspiring to listen to you today. And because this is the Coffee and Uche Okeke podcast, I'd like to just ask you to describe your ideal picture of you enjoying a coffee with someone.
My idea of enjoying a coffee with someone is loaded with love and high imagination. And by the time I finish enjoying the coffee, I will go home, imagine and start making some pictures with it and with its loving heart. I wish I've experienced today now. My heart is so lifted. And look at the summary Salma gave to me. That's wonderful. I can't just imagine it for now. But when I leave here, anyway, by the time this program is finished, I'll begin to imagine it. Salma, you're so wonderful. And the people you brought from South Africa, They are so wonderful, and we hope it's going to be a life journey.
So we shall look forward to seeing the new works you create out of this coffee and Uche Okeke, because definitely you're going to go back and you're going to create pictures out of it, and you're going to put it down on paper or canvas or print.
Okay, that would be great. That would be great. I promise.
Thank you, Professor Onakufe, for sharing your invaluable insights and experiences with us today. It has been an honor to hear about your journey and your thoughts on Nigerian contemporary art. Your dedication to art education and your ongoing contributions to the art world are truly inspiring. We appreciate our listeners for joining us on this enlightening episode. For more information, please visit ucheokekelegacy.com and find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. See you next time on Coffee and Uche Okeke.